Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L and now let's do it! The manga arc review. I have just seen the spoilers for the upcoming chapter 184 of Hero Academia and it looks like we're moving on to another arc. The school festival is over, or at least it's in its final stages. I think a transition's happening because they're bringing back elements. I think it's really interesting, but we're gonna do what we did back with the Shizaki arc. The manga arc review. How good was this arc? It's not really an issue of how good this arc was. It's more of an issue of what I think about the arc. And then I'm pretty much going to be presenting some points here. I'm going to be telling you my opinion and then we'll see if you guys agree. It's pretty much just my official review for the arc as a whole. What we're going to be covering, I think I might make one more video to accompany this main video, but that one's going to be more based on characters. Specifically Kirishima and Mina, and then if there's any other kind of topics you guys want to talk about for this arc, like let's say the top chapters. I have data for top chapters for this arc, thankfully, thanks to the audience from My Hero Academia. If you guys want like weird statistics like that, I'm sure I can like whip something together. Anyway, enough introduction preamble, let's just get into the video. That's just telling you that there's going to be a bit things. This video is going to be divided into a few parts. It's going to be talking about the strength, the weakness, and some other little points. Let's just get into it, and we're going to start it off with this one. The reason we're talking about the girls first for this arc review is because this was an issue with the Shizaki arc. The Shizaki arc, I have a whole video about the whole problem with the girls, but like the only girls that really got away scot-free in that arc with like some actually good showing in general were Eri and Toga. The other ones, you can make the argument they sucked for that one, or like they just weren't done justice is the problem. For this arc, it's a little bit weird, but I think the girls overall did better. On the villain side, definitely La Brava. She was powerful, she was fun, finding out about her problems, finding out about her love for Gentle. Those were all very entertaining, and when it comes to the heart for the arc, La Brava brought it. Like, let's face it, La Brava's love for Gentle is a mover, and like when you look at the comments all along the release of the chapters, you look at those comments and it's like, okay, a lot of people were really impacted by La Brava and Gentle and their relationship in general. La Brava as a character, however, she is one of those characters where it's kind of tough, because La Brava, she has a really critical skill that justifies her abilities, or like justifies her place in the plot. And in this case, her critical skill was hacking. And as we found out in the end of the arc, we found out La Brava, she is a homegrown hacker. She learned these skills. She's self-taught. Usually, you know, like that kind of convenience, you would usually want to like attribute that to like a Mary Sue level quality, or you know, for people that don't know, it's like when a character is just too good for no real reason. The only reason that I think, or actually the main reason I think that you can make the argument against that, however, is that hacking is a skill that many people in our world can pick up just from the comfort of their own home. So La Brava picking it up, especially when she took a reclusive lifestyle, is totally justified. So when it came to her skill set, it looks kind of unbelievable on like the surface level, but there's actually, it can realistically happen. So you can't really take that away from her. So you know, she brought in the emotional weight for this arc, and she brought in the technical expertise that allowed Gentle to even fathom doing this kind of infiltration. So as a mover for the arc, she's actually like a really big part. Moving into the other girls, however, when it came to the 1A side of things, like the main girls or the main heroic girls, well, this was going to be a sort of spotlight arc, and right now with the character in focus being Jiro, so Jiro got attention. You can't really disagree that Jiro was the one in the focal point here. You have the attention that she got when she was singing. You have the attention that she got when she was getting people together. There were a lot of close-up shots of her shyness. There were close-up shots of her fun, her excitement, and there was also the flashback to say why she wanted to be a hero. She got a very, very expedited and streamlined, I guess, spotlight arc. Exposition, a fair spotlight arc. I think that was good. It's much better than what Ochako and Tsuyu got in the Shizaki thing. On the other hand, there was also Mina. Mina got weird attention here, and I think this is like this arc had a distinction in that this is one of the first times that Mina and Izuku have actually talked. And Mina, what she got in this arc were moments with Izuku and how he dances, and that like ended up being a big deal for him later on. And she also got like she got different attention with Kirishima, which will be the subject of another video. So for the girl side, La Brava, awesome, and Mina, awesome, and of course Eri, but Eri is just a reward for the viewers, so it's not really her. It's like it's a big deal that Eri got to smile, but in the long scheme of things, it's just a nice little like bookend, or it's a nice little ribbon to put on the Save Eri story. And man, let me tell you, chapter 184, if I get this video out before the chapter's out, you guys are gonna love that chapter. Anyway, moving on. And now let's quickly talk about the main conflict. This part's just going to be a quick recap because the other two parts that are coming up are going to like talk more about how the main conflict actually affected the rest of the story, in my opinion. When you look at it, the main conflict throughout the whole arc was Gentle and La Brava and their quest for relevancy. When you're at the beginning of the arc, we are whipping between Izuku and Gentle. Those are the storylines. We see the whole process, how Gentle came to his conclusions to go and invade UA. We have him telling us monologues. We have him getting his relationship with La Brava fleshed out. We have Gentle being the underlying force that makes this arc happen. Without Gentle, there would be no one for Izuku to be tested against, right? There would be no one for Izuku to learn from and to grow. And when I say learn and grow, I mean like he learns of a new perspective, or not a new perspective, he learns of someone else's perspective. Anyway, Gentle as the one that brings the conflict into the arc and the one that moves it along, pretty cool. I think when we all sit down, we can say like Gentle and La Brava were a great addition to the My Hero Academia roster. It's pretty cool. Overall, I think there's like happy feelings about sorry, I was about to say Gentle, about La Brava and Gentle. Now though, we're going to go into the strengths of this arc. So obviously, like I said in the main conflict, one of the big strengths, Gentle and La Brava. I think when it comes to emotional power, these two have it. Gentle's story of not being a good enough hero, or not being a good enough hero applicant to actually get his hero license, I think that was really good. I remember when I was talking about the chapters in real time, I liked that we were getting the perspective of someone who's failed, and I like seeing exactly how he ended up going along his path. That was really good. La Brava's love for Gentle is one of the most extreme aspects of the pair, but it's still nice to see, and it's a nice little emotional push, especially when you bring in that La Brava's quirk is based on love. That love is thematically appropriate for what actually happens throughout the arc. So I like that the author actually made the love a critical thing in Gentle's power-up, because really when you look at it, La Brava's power is pretty much the friendship power-up made legitimate, right? Because it's all based about love. If this was Fairy Tail, she would have fit right in. Anyway, another big strength for the chapter, or sorry, for the arc, was Izuku. Guys, listen, if you are a fan of Izuku, there is no way you did not enjoy this arc. This arc was a turning point for Izuku, or not a turning point, because like chances are this kid's gonna go right back to struggling like he always has. But for one of the first times in a long while, Izuku wasn't playing catch up with a villain. Izuku wasn't destroying his body. Izuku for the first time was what All Might pretty much was to every other villain in the universe, right? Izuku was a hard deterrent for Gentle and La Brava. I'm just gonna call them La Gentle, so you guys know I'm talking about the pair. This was just great. Izuku was the thing that these guys had to overcome in order to actually go and do what they wanted to do. When you have Gentle getting afraid of Izuku because Izuku's freaking crazy and he's willing to destroy his body to stop someone, you know this is great stuff. Izuku stood there at 20% power, and he was the biggest obstacle that Gentle ended up having to try to overcome. So, you know, when you look back to all of Izuku's fights, all the fights where Izuku's like just destroying his body, all the fights that ends up, well, he ends up in the hospital. When you look back to even the Shizaki fight where he needed Eri to help him out because otherwise Shizaki was just going to be too much for him, and you look at this is what Izuku's going to be in the future. Just this level of competency and this level of fear-inducing justice in villains. So Izuku, I loved you, buddy. You were great for this fight. That was amazing. I love the symbol of justice that you became for this very small altercation. It was great. It was great. So Izuku was definitely a big strength to the chapter. I keep saying chapter, the arc. And then on the flip side, going back to the slice of life stuff, Jiro was a strength as well. Like, the thing is, the Legento and the Izuku stuff is so flashy. Then you go back to the slice of life stuff, and you know, Jiro is one of the big forces here, but because it's slice of life, anytime you get the class 1A in general working together and doing stuff, it's gonna be worthwhile. So of course they are a highlight for the arc, because anytime that you get Koda talking to Jiro, that's a good enough interaction. We should have more of these, but we're not gonna get it because the rule of popularity rules the whole manga, so we can't get it. So any moment that it happens, I'm gonna take it with open arms. It's a highlight. Also, another highlight, and this was something that the author did consistently throughout the arc once he established it, Aoyama. Aoyama really stepped up here, because we had that incredible chapter that started the cultural festival off with Aoyama. Everyone thought he was going to be the traitor. Everyone was freaking out. I was like, guys, you know, it's probably not going to happen. But Aoyama, he became a thing in Izuku's life, and if you look throughout the chapters, Aoyama still gets a lot of attention. Aoyama is the one talking to people and telling them, like, you know, Izuku's gonna be out there. Aoyama's getting meaningful looks. Aoyama is still interacting with Izuku. When you look at passive friendships and just like showing that characters like each other, what the author did with Aoyama throughout the dozens of chapters for, or not dozen, maybe like it was a bit over a dozen chapters for this cultural festival arc. Is that what it was called? Yeah, anyway, Aoyama throughout this arc, it was so in the background, but man, it really sold me on the idea that he and Izuku were friends now. And it is kind of heartwarming to just see how much Aoyama cares. And I'm happy that such a flamboyant character isn't really overshadowed by Gentle, because every time I see Aoyama afterward or in between the fights, I'm thinking, yeah, Aoyama's Izuku's friend, of course he's gonna care. So amazing stuff, loved it. Aoyama, great. I love you. I know you're not on my relevancy chart, but it's because you shine too bright. No point putting you in there. Okay, so that's the strengths. If you guys have any other ones that you want to mention, let me know down below, but I have to keep going in the interest of time. The weakness. And okay, now let's talk about the weakness. This is the weakness itself, I think, is coming from a structure point. And mind you, when I say weakness, guys, don't take that negative. I mean, like, a lot of the things in this arc were pretty good. The weakness itself is just, I think, where things kind of get a little bit tough depending on what kind of reader you are. Like, if you're a super chill reader, this isn't a weakness for you. If you're more jaded or you want certain things a little bit more than average, it's going to become a problem. So the main weakness here is specifically, it's coming in the fact that this arc had two very distinct parts, and then how the author bridged it. So if you guys were watching my impression videos all the way throughout, there was a spot where I kept having problems with it, and it ultimately came back to serendipity. Now, serendipity is a writer's best friend. It is a story's fuel. A lot of stories start because of serendipity. But this arc was just, it was really aggressive with it. So we have the two very distinct halves, the slice of life stuff, and then the gentle stuff. And then we have Izuku, who is the one that's bridging that gap. The amount of things that the author had to do to make it so that Izuku could bridge that gap is ridiculous. First, the author had to sell us on the premise that Gentle doesn't get that many views, and that Gentle is struggling for popularity, and that people don't really care about Gentle, right? And I had my big rant about it because I thought it was very unbelievable, because like, when you remember it, Gentle got introduced to us officially, or the first time we saw him, it was after the kids were watching a party video or a concert video, and then it auto-played to Gentle. Let me tell you, if you are unpopular, you are not gonna autoplay after a concert. Okay, that's just not how it works, but that's how it was introduced to us. Not a big deal. All the technological stuff gets a pass because it just needs to happen for the story. Whatever. Moving it through, Izuku comes to know of Gentle, or at least the readers are told that he knows of Gentle because he sees a video of Gentle. He happens to see the right video at the right time to tell him that Gentle is planning something. The next bit is where it got really aggressive. So first, to make this work, Izuku has to leave the school compound at a certain time, and he has to do it really early, right? Why did that happen? Because one of the ropes that the kids were using broke. And then they threw in the extra excuse that we cannot use Momo because it's not like you've had her produce clothes when you're doing an infiltration mission. It's not like you've had her produce a fire starter when you need to start a fire at camp. You know, don't abuse Momo is what they told us. Okay, cool, whatever. Damaged rope, kindness to a friend, that's cool. You move along though, and then you have Izuku going off to get the rope, and then when he's coming back, he just happens to run into Gentle. All things are falling into the right place, and then here's where it gets way more aggressive. First off, Gentle makes the comment, oh, he almost lost the aftertaste of his favorite tea, and then Izuku is able to piece together what tea it was thanks to the very serendipitous event of Momo talking about the tea the night before. Then it required Izuku remembering the very critical line that he saw from the one video that had the line. See, like, guys, no, look. There's too many serendipitous events, alright? The way that the author bridged this together to make these two meet was kinda sloppy. It's the sloppiest part of the entire arc. Like, I'm gonna stick to that. You know, people make the joke that Izuku's secret quirk is probability manipulation or that he can change fate. And when you have situations like this, it's like, well, yeah, I guess why not? But you know, at the same time, it's like plot's gonna make it happen, but this time around, it's really shoddy. Too many things had to go wrong and too many coincidences had to happen in order for Izuku and Gentle to meet. But in the grand scheme of things, that's barely a weakness. It's just how the author makes things work. The point of it was we needed to see Izuku and Gentle meet. How he got there, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it can be tough. It can be tough to make the segues work well. So what I really want to say with this is the weakness that I see in the arc as a whole. It comes down to the structure of having these two very distinct parts and then having, I think, in my opinion, a very shaky connector. But in the grand scheme of things, not the worst thing that we could have ever have had. One last note I want to have on this little weakness though is that there is another effect that's kind of produced when you have Izuku being the one that's interacting with the second aspect of the arc, that being Gentle. And it's something that Hound Dog touched on. Like, Izuku had to learn to rely on people more. There's an interesting narrative there, because when you look at it, what ended up happening was that Izuku pretty much took the happiness of everyone in school and he decided to shoulder them, right? When you have Izuku fighting Gentle by himself, it's kind of sad because it's just turning into the Izuku show, you know. And then it like also brings up the question, like, why not get other people involved? Why not get Bakugo involved? Why not get Todoroki involved? It was the author setting up a situation where Izuku's gonna develop the character trait of wanting to do things by himself, where he doesn't really depend on other people, that he saves, or he tries to save even other people who also want to be out there saving people. I'm very interested in that, and I want to see if the author is gonna play up that trait in Izuku. Because if he does, that's a very self-destructive trait. Like, yeah, you can say it sounds good in the idea of it, but All Might could never do that. All Might cooperates. All Might can't be at two places at the same time. There's always going to be someone that needs to be saved. And Izuku has to kind of learn that lesson, but I don't know if that's actually something that the author wants to do with Izuku, or if this is just something that he managed to throw in there as a little message to Izuku that Izuku maybe won't actually rely on. So now I'm kind of, whenever I'm looking at Izuku and heading into the future, I'm wondering, is Izuku gonna have a moment where he has to be shown that he can't save everyone and that it's better off to rely on your allies? I'd be very interested to see that. Anyway, those are my notes for this arc. It's a very long video before editing it. Before editing time, it's like 28 minutes. So hopefully I've been able to cut this down. That said, you guys are probably watching this, so thanks so much for watching. This has been my arc review. Yeah, let's end it there. Till next time, I hope you have a great day.